Good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys. Welcome back to our day 5 of our program, Python for AI 2025. So let us quickly recap what we have covered in the last session. In the last class, we understood operators, right? So we started understanding Python topics, and as part of the last session, we understood different types of operators and the purpose of operators in Python. So what is the purpose of operators? Operators actually help us to do some operations. Operators help us to do operations. What are the different types of operators we have in Python? We have arithmetic operators, then assignment operator, next to it, relational operators, then logical operators, membership operators, identity operators, and finally bitwise operators. So these are the different types of operators that we have in Python, and all these operators along with the hands-on we have covered in the last session, guys. Am I right? Yes. So let us quickly recap these types of operators. Arithmetic operators help us to do arithmetic operations. Assignment operator, the only assignment operator that we have in Python is equals to. Then, what is the purpose of assignment operator? Assignment operator helps us to assign the value, the right hand side value to left hand side variable object. Next to it, what are the different types of relational operators that we have? We have greater than, less than, is equals to, not is equals to, greater than is equals to, and less than equals to. The purpose of relational operators is they help us to compare the values. Yes. And a relational operator will always return a Boolean value, either true or false. Either true or false is what will get as output. Then next to it, we have logical operators. What are the different logical operators we have in Python? And, or, and not operators. So these are the three different types of logical operators that we have in Python. What is the purpose of logical operator? They help us to combine two relational expressions. Right? So I can combine two relational expressions using a logical operator. When does AND operator return true? When both the expressions return true, only in that case AND operator returns true. Returns true as output. Coming to OR operator returns false only if both the expressions return false. In rest of all the cases, OR operator returns true. And NOT operator help us to, return the opposite of the value, the negation. It helps us to reverse the output. And a logical operator will always return either true or false as output, similar to relational operators. Next to it, we have discussed membership operators. What are the different membership operators that we have in Python, guys? Answer in the chat. In, not in. In and not in are the two membership operators. What is the purpose of membership operators? They help us to check the presence of a value in an iterable object. Even membership operators also return true or false as output. Either true or false. Then identity operators. Identity operators. What are the different identity operators that we have in Python? Is not. And an identity operator in Python will always return either true or false. Will always return either true or false as output. What is the purpose of identity operators? They help us to compare the memory address. They help us to compare the memory address of two objects. Yes. And finally, we have bitwise operators. The purpose of bitwise operators is to perform bit by bit calculation. Okay. So that is the purpose of bitwise operators. And we have left shift, right shift, then exclusive OR, okay, bitwise AND operator, bitwise OR operator, and negation operator. So we have discussed all the different types of operators in Python in the last session. So this topic got done. We are done with the operators. And in today's session, we are going to understand new topics like conditional statements. What is the next topic? Conditional statements. Then followed by loops. And we also have some loop control statements. There are three statements which help us to control the loops. Okay. So these three statements also we are going to learn. This will be the agenda for the day. So keep interacting throughout the session and focus. Right. So let's get started with conditional statements. The next topic. Yes. So we have flow control statements. What is the purpose of flow control statements in Python? There are statements called flow control statements. So what is the purpose of these flow control statements? These flow control statements, they help us to perform a certain operation. That means we can perform a certain operation only once, but when the condition is true or false. So that means either the condition is true or false, a certain operation can be done for once. Okay. Or the same operation can be done for multiple times, repeatedly. Okay. I can perform the same operation for n number of times till the condition becomes false. So either this or that. That is the purpose of flow control statements. But when do we perform a certain operation only for once, and when do we perform a certain operation for n number of times? That means finite number of times is what we'll understand, guys. These flow control statements in Python are of three types. They are of three types. What are they? They are conditional or selection or branching statements. I repeat, conditional or selection or branching statements. This is the first type of flow control statements. Then the second one is looping or iterative or repetitive statements. So in short, they are nothing but looping statements. And the third type of flow control statements is miscellaneous flow control statements. And they are break, continue, and pass. Right? Yes. So we'll start with the first one. What is the first type? Conditional or selection or branching statements. Let us understand the purpose of, yes. So what is the purpose of learning or using these conditional statements? Why should we use these conditional statements is, these conditional statements help us to perform an operation. We can perform an operation, X operation, when the condition is true. When the condition is true, or we can perform other operation like Y operation. I can perform Y operation when the condition is false. But for how many times? Only for once, guys. Only for once. So that means conditional statements or selection statements or branching statements help us to perform a operation. A certain operation can be performed only for once. Either the condition is true or the condition is false. But this operation will be performed only for once. Only for once. Under conditional statements, we have four types. We have four types. What are they? Simple if statement, if else statement, if else statement, and match case statement. So these are the four different types of conditional statements. Okay, four different types of conditional statements that we have in Python. Making sense? Right. So let us understand the first type of conditional statement. It is simple if statement. It is simple if statement. So what is the purpose of simple if statement and the syntax? We'll understand. A simple if statement is used when you want to actually, when you have only one condition to be tested. Right? So the syntax for simple if statement says like, if keyword followed by the test condition. If keyword followed by the test condition. Then next to the test condition, we'll have indentation symbol. So this is called colon. This is called colon, and which is called as indentation symbol. Which is named as indentation symbol. So the moment you have kept this indentation symbol, and if you go to the next line, by default it leaves some spaces. It leaves some space. Okay. So by default this space will be of 4 spaces. This will be of 4 spaces. And whatever the lines, the statements that you are going to keep under this if block are nothing but indentation block of statements. We say them as indentation block of statements. Then once after keeping all the block of statements, you can go and keep the other statements in the program. So this is the syntax for simple if statement. Okay, how does this simple if statement work is, initially it checks for the condition, this condition. If this condition is true, only then it enters and executes the block of statements. So these block of statements from 1 till n will be executed if this test condition is holding true. What if the test condition is not true? Assume that the test condition is failing. Then will it execute the block of statements? No. It directly goes and executes the other statements in the program. So that means these block of statements will be skipped. They get skipped. So this is how simple if statement works, guys. When it comes to the explanation part, the if that we are using as part of the simple if statement is a keyword. We know if is a keyword, a reserved word in Python. Then this test condition can be a relational expression or logical expression. Yes. And the output of this test condition will always be either true or false. If the output is true, then all these indentation block of statements will be executed one by one. Then it executes the other statements in the program. What if this test condition is failing? Will it execute these indentation block of statements? No. If the test condition fails, it skips these indentation block of statements and directly comes to other statements in program. So this is how a simple if block, a simple if statement works. Now just map the purpose of conditional statements here. The purpose of conditional statements is what? They help us to perform a certain operation. Are we able to do an operation? Yes. Okay. When the given condition is true or either false. But for how many times? Only once. We can perform an operation for only once. Right. So let us discuss a few examples, hands-on part related to simple if statement so that you can map it very easily, guys. As usual, I'll go back to Spider. And here is a small simple if statement example. Okay. So what am I doing here? Line number 1426. There is a function called input. In line number 1426, there is a function called input. So this input function is available with a message. There is a message inside this input function. And the message says, do you have ticket? Okay. So what is the purpose of input function is, it dynamically accepts the answer, the result from the end user, and this answer will be assigned to the object. So when I execute line number 1426 alone, see, it is asking me to give the answer. Do you have a ticket? It is not done yet. Okay, it is not done yet, guys. It is asking me to give the answer. So if I say S, if I click on enter, this S will be dynamically assigned to the object variable tkt, and that gets stored in the variable. That gets stored to the variable. And by default, input function accepts the input as a str type. It accepts the input as str type. It uses str type as default data type. Even though if you give a value, whatever it might be, it accepts the values using str type only. Now, next to it, I have the condition. I mean, a simple if statement is what you observe here, right? If, let us map with the syntax, guys. If keyword, then next to it, what should we have? We should have a condition, logical test. Is this our condition? Yes. What does the condition say? tkt is equals to s. That means this tkt, whatever the object that we have in the previous line, if it contains, yes, double is equals to is equals to in Python, right? So if this condition matches, okay, if this condition matches, it will go and start executing the block of statements one by one. And in this example, what are the block of statements that you have? The block of statements that we have in this example are 14, 28, 29 and 30. How do you identify that these are only the three statements that are part of the indentation block? Because if you observe, all the three lines have a space. By default, four spaces will be left in front of these lines. Okay, so all these statements have four spaces and they are nothing but together they are part of the indentation only. They are part of indentation only. So if this condition returns false, if the condition is satisfying, if it is returning true, then it enters the if block and starts executing all these statements one by one. What if this condition is false? Will it enter the indentation block? No. It skips these statements and directly goes to the other statements in the program. So just map the syntax with this example. Your questions, your doubts will be resolved. Right? So if you see here, what is the value that we have in TKT? Yes. So here also it is yes. So the condition is matching, right? Because yes is equals to yes, obviously. So as the condition is returning true, it enters the if block and starts executing line number 28, 29 and 30. What do we have in these indentation block statements? To print some messages. The message says enter into theater. Next message says enter watch movie. Third message says a print function says to print enjoy the movie. Right? So all these three lines will be executed and then it comes to the other lines in the program. In simple it says go to home and open Python notes. This is what we have, in a simple if statement. So when you are executing these statements, ensure that you are executing together, guys. You have to execute the entire code at once. We know that line number 1431 is not part of if block. Simple if statement, right? It is not part of it. But still I am executing together and see what will be the results. Did I use any space? Yes. Got it. Why it did not return the, why it did not execute these lines 14, 28, 29 and 30? That is because of, if you observe here, what is the size of S? Size of S is actually 3. Am I right? YES, 3 characters. But you see 4. Why? Because of I used space. Before Y, I have used space. And that is why, the condition is not matching so that it is not executing the indentation block of statements and it directly executes the other statements in the program. I hope you are getting the point, guys. Right? So let me do it once again. This time I'll not give any space. I'll just keep it as YS. Done. If you see here, the size of YS is 3. Now let me execute the if block, the if statement together. Did we get the output? All the 4 lines. Enter into theater, watch movie, enjoy the movie. Then again the question rises, why did we get a empty line as output? If you see here, there is \n, which means new line character. Initially it prints an empty line. Next to it, it prints whatever the message that is present here. I hope you got the point, guys. It's very simple. Simple if statement is nothing but we use it when you have a single, condition, when you want to check with the condition. And there is one more example here. What do you see? Again, We are using input function. The purpose of input function is to dynamically assign the values to the variables. So when I execute line number 1434, it asks us to enter a number and that number will be converted to int type. We know that input function by default uses str type. For storing the values, it uses str type. So we are doing type conversion, guys. We are converting from one type to the other type, from str to int. Okay, so let me do it. So it is asking me to enter a number. I'll keep the number as, say, 25. Observe carefully. I'll click on enter. What happened? NUT, no, the value that NUT stores is 25. But what is the type? Int. We know that input function by default uses str type. But how the 25 get converted to int is, the int function is used. Okay, the 25 of str type, okay, which gets stored using str type will be converted into int type using int function. Then the value will be stored in NUT. Now I have a simple if statement again. But do you see only one? No, I see three if statements. 1, 2, and 3. So in this way, can you have n number of simple if statements? Yes. Yes. If the condition is true, it enters the block. If the condition is false, it skips. Simple. It checks for the logical test, the condition. If the condition is returning true, then it enters the block of statement. What if the condition is failing? It skips this block and goes to the next block. So it starts from here. NUT greater than 0. Is 25 greater than 0? Yes. So condition is met. Immediately it goes to the indentation block. Okay. So within the line, within the first if block, we have line number 1436. So this will be executed. Line number 1436 will be executed. In which we have format function. We have format function which formats the value of NUT in this message. Okay. So wherever you see this flower braces, in the place of these flower braces, it gets formatted and the message will be printed. That means 25 is positive will be printed. Then what about the rest of the if blocks? It skips, guys. It does not go and checks for the other conditions. Right? So let me execute all these lines of code together. I'm executing together. See, 25 is positive is what it has written me. And next to it, it has also written as program execution completed. Why it has written as program execution completed message? That is because of this is part of other statements in the program. This is not part of any if block, if statement. Got the point? So let me do it one more time. This time I'll change the value for NUT. So let me go with 0. Done. 0 is what it is storing. NUT stores 0. Yes. Now let me execute this if block together. The entire code is what I'm running executing together, guys. See. What it has written? It has written 0 is 0. Because this condition will be false. This condition is also false. But the third condition will be true. The third condition will be true. As a third condition is met, immediately it enters the third block and executes line number 1440. So it prints a message in which the formatting will be done. So that is why you see 0 is 0 as output. And next to it, we also have other statements in the program, that is nothing but program execution completed will be printed. Guys, instead of sitting silent, why don't you respond in the chat? Okay, so I'll be questioning you here onwards. You are supposed to keep the answers. Right. So let us talk about the second statement. What is the second statement that we have? We understood simple if statement. Next to it, we have if else statement under conditional statements. Under conditional statements, we have if else statement. Right. Let us understand the syntax of if else statement. In a if else statement, you will observe two blocks. One is if block and the next one is else block. If block and else block. So how does this if else statement work? Is initially it checks for the condition. Where do we have the condition? In the if block. So this test condition will be evaluated. If it is true, if this condition returns true, obviously it will execute the indentation block of statements 1. Yes. So these block of statements will be executed. Then immediately it skips the else block and executes the other statements in the Python program. What if this condition is not returning true? If it is false, will it execute these indentation block of statements 1? No. It skips if block and comes to else block and executes indentation block of statements 2. It executes indentation block of statements 2 and then also executes other statements in program. So that means, what can you understand from it? I can clearly understand that it is a continuation of simple if statement. In simple if statement, we will not have else block. Right? So, if the condition in the if statement, in the if block, if it is true, obviously the indentation block of statements will execute. What if the condition 1 is false? If this condition is false, it skips indentation block of statements 1 and executes indentation block of statements 2. That's it. You'll have the same explanation here, guys. Both if and else are keywords. If and else are keywords. Okay, then next to it, if you observe here, the same explanation is written. So this is the flow chart for if else statement. This is how a if else statement works. Right? So let us go with the examples. Focus on some examples. What do you understand from here? Again, I'm using an input function. Yes, I'm using an input function. And I'm asking to enter any digit. Enter any digit. So this value, the value that you get from the end user will be converted to int type because I'm using int function. So this int type value will be stored in the object D, the variable D. Let me do it. So it is asking us to enter any digit. I'll just keep it as 3 because 3 is a digit. Yes, I'll click on enter. See, D stores value 3. What is the type of it? Int. How did we get an int type value? Because of int function. Because of int function. Now, I have if else statement. I have if else statement, guys. Let us understand this if else statement. if D in range of 0 comma 10. So what is the actual syntax? The syntax is if keyword followed by test condition colon then block of statements 1, else keyword colon followed by block of statements 2. This is the syntax for if else statement. What is the condition that we have here? The condition says D in range of 0 comma 10. What is D? D is nothing but the object, the variable object that we got from the previous line. So what is the value that is present in D? It is 3. 3. Then what is in? In is a membership operator. Membership operator. Range of 0 comma 10 will return what, guys? It will return as a range object where the values will be from 0 till 9. 0 till 9. So the condition is if D value in this range object, if the condition satisfies, then it will go and execute line number 1448. What if the condition is not satisfying? What if the condition is false? It skips this if block and comes to else block, executes line number 1450. Now let us check for the condition. Is D in range of 0 comma 10? Yes. 3 in range of 0 comma 10. Is the condition met or not? Yes. So if the condition is returning true, it will go to line number 1448 and it prints the message where the formatting will be done. The D value gets formatted in this place and that message will be printed. The output will be 3 is a digit. The output will be 3 is a digit will be given as output. Good. So let me execute. So once after executing if block, will it also execute else block? No. No. See, 3 is a digit will be returned as output. I'll do one thing. Instead of entering a digit, let us enter a number, guys. Let us enter a number. Probably 50. Done. So what is the value that D stores? Is 50. 50 is what D is storing. Now let me execute this if else statement. If we observe, I am executing the if else statement together. What is the output? D 50 is a number. Why? Why it executed line number 1450? The reason behind it is you will not have 50 in the range of 0 comma 10. This condition will return false. Once if the condition returns false in the if statement, it skips if block and jumps to else block and blindly executes the statements that we have in else block. This is what happens in if else statement. Yes. Now it's your turn. I'll be giving different values. You are the one who have to give the answers. Be active, guys. Here is a one more example related to if else statement. Okay. So initially it is asking us to enter a number. So the number that we are giving here is say 200. What happens if I give 200? This 200 will be converted to float type. That gets converted to float type. So what will be the output then? 200.0. This 200.0 will be assigned to variable n. Let me do it. Done. If you see in the variable explorer, what is the value? 200.0. What is the type? Float. N holds 200.0. Now tell me, if I execute this entire if else statement, what will be written as output? What will I get as output? Initially, it checks for this condition. Yes. This condition, is it returning true or false? Yes, this condition is satisfying, guys. Because 200.0 is greater than 0. Right? So as this condition satisfies, it executes line number 1455 and returns 200.0 is positive. Good. Good. Let me execute and showcase the output. See? Right. What if I pass the value for the number as 0? In this case, what will be the output? What will be the output in this case? Is this condition met? No. It skips. It comes to else block. Is this condition met? No. Even this condition is also not met. So that means even this second if block will skip and comes to else block and prints 0 is 0. Good. 0.0 is 0 will be written as output. Perfect. Simple. If you understood the flow, you can answer any question. You can answer any question. Right? So that is the flow for if else statement. Next to if else statement, we have if elif else statements. We have if elif else statements. What is the purpose of if elif else statements is when there are multiple conditions that need to be validated. Okay, then we go with if elif else statement. If you observe the syntax of if elif else statement, okay, we have one if block but multiple elif blocks. Multiple elif block and one else block. One else block. So if block is similar to the simple if statement. If this condition is met, obviously it is going to execute block of statements 1. What if this condition is false? If it is not satisfying, it comes to first elif block. It checks for the condition 2. It checks for the condition 2. If this condition is true, it just blindly goes and execute block of statements 2. Block of statements 2 will be executed if test condition is 2. What if the test condition 2 is also false? It comes to elif block 3. So in this way, it helps us to validate multiple conditions. Multiple conditions can be validated. So as part of if elif else block, if elif else, all these are keywords. They are reserved words in Python. Okay, so the same process will be continued until all the test conditions will be evaluated. Yes, it keeps on checking for the conditions. Each and every test condition will be evaluated. And one important point that has to be noted here is writing this else block. The else block that we have is not mandatory, guys. It's optional. It is optional. If you don't want to have the else block, you can also remove it. It will not throw you any kind of exceptions. Okay, it's upon your wish. Right? So let us focus on a few examples related to if, elif, else. But before that, let us understand the flow, the journey of if, elif, else statement, the flow chart. Okay. So initially it checks for the condition 1. Yes. If this one returns true, if the test condition 1 is satisfying, the block of statements 1 will be executed. This one will be executed. Once after executing this, directly it goes and executes other statements in the program. What if this condition is not returning true? If it is returning false, it goes and checks for the condition 2. As we have n different conditions, it checks for a condition where it returns true. Accordingly, the respective block of statements will be executed, and it also executes other statements in program. This is how the flow, the journey of if, elif, else block, elif, else statements work. Right? So let me take a few examples related to the third type of conditional statement. It is if, elif, else statement. If you observe here, this is the perfect example for if, elif, else. What am I doing here? I'm using input function. Yes, I'm using input function. And this input function actually help us to dynamically assign the values. Right? Enter any digit is what the message got printed, and I'll assign a number. I'll enter the number as say 5. I'll assign the number as 5. Then I'll click on enter. So D stores the value 5. What is the type? Int. How did we get int type? Because of int function. Because of int function. Now, let me leave it to you. What will be the output for this program? Here you see multiple conditions. For each and every block, you see multiple conditions? Yes, there are multiple conditions. So it starts with the first condition. What does the first condition say? The first condition says D is equals to 0. Is 5 is equals to 0? False. False. 5 is not 0, guys. Okay. So this block gets skipped. It comes to the next block. What is the next block? Elif block. The first elif block. 5 is equals to 1. Is this correct? This is also false. Even the first if elif block also fails, the condition present in first elif block also fails. It comes to second elif block. 5 is equals to 2. Is the condition met? No. Skip. Third elif block. 5 is equals to 3. This is also false. Condition is not met. Skip. But in the next elif block, if we observe the condition, 5 is equals to 5. 5 is equals to 5. See, indentation is represented by the colon symbol. Okay. So whenever you have the colon symbol, whatever the statements that by default leave some space initially, only these will be part of the indentation block for that specific block. Okay. But you cannot see that we should also provide the indentation space here. No. This is how the syntax will be. Okay. So here the condition is met. Once if the condition is met, it goes inside It goes inside of this block and it prints a message stating 5 is 5. 5 is 5. That is how it checks for all the conditions one by one. Wherever the condition is met, you know, those block of statements will be executed. Do I also have other programs? Other statements in the program? No. There is no other statements in the program, but I have else block. This else block is not mandatory. If all the conditions are going false, if all the condition, none of the condition has met, then by default, the statements present in the else block will be executed. Anyhow, let me execute all the lines of code together. So I'm executing all the lines, all the blocks of code together. What is my output? Okay, it is asking us to enter the digit. I'll keep it as 5. So the output is 5 is 5. 5 is written as output. Okay, let us do it one more time, guys. This time, I'll keep my digit as some 52. What will be the output? What will be the output? If I keep the digit as 52. Come on, guys, what will be the output? It will written as 52 is number. Exactly. It returns 52 is number. Why? All the conditions are failing. When all the conditions fail, obviously, it goes and executes the statements present in the else block. Okay. So this is how we use if elif else block. Okay. And the next type and the last type of conditional statements is match case statement. This is very important. Probably you may or may not have gone through this different type of statement. It is match case statement. So this match case statement, this is one of the facility that was added from Python 3.10 version. Okay. So friends, if you are using a Python version less than 3.10, this match case statement will not work. What you have to do? You have to download the software of Python which is greater than 3.10 version. Right? So this is point to be noted because in the old versions of Python, there is no concept called match case statements. Okay? Right. Then what is the purpose of match case statement? Why should we go and use match case statement is these match case statement help us to handle menu driven applications, or if you also have any pre-designed conditions. If there are any pre-designed conditions, there we can go and use match case statement. The syntax for match case statement is match keyword followed by your choice expression. Your whatever the expression that you would like to keep, you have to define your choice expression. Then next to it will keep the cases, different possible cases, case keyword and the label. Case keyword and the label. Whenever the choice expression and the label is met, then the corresponding block of statements will be executed. What if the choice expression is not mapping with any of these labels? By default, the default case block will be executed, which is represented with case underscore, which is represented with case underscore. So this block of statements will be executed. Right. So I'll show you how match case statements work. Yes. So here is the detailed explanation for match case. Focus. Within the match case statement, there are two keywords. What are the match and case? Match and case are the two keywords that we have in match case statement. Then the choice expression that we have as part of the match. Okay, so this choice expression can be either int type, str or bool type. Out of these three, it can be anything. Okay, if the choice expression value is matching with the label of the case, that corresponding block will be executed. That is what we have discussed. Yes. Okay, what if the choice expression, it is not matching with any of the case labels? Then what happens? By default, the case block, the default case block which is represented with case underscore, which is represented with case underscore will be executed. So whatever the statements that we have under this case underscore will be executed as the default block. So that means writing this case underscore block is optional again. It is not mandatory. It is optional. Right? So let us take an example and understand how match case statements work. How match case statement work. Observe properly, guys. What are we doing in line number 1492? We are using input function. So this input function will actually display a message. What is the message that is going to display? Enter the week name. So it is asking us to enter the week name. I'll keep it as, say, what is the weekday today? What is the week name today? Is it Tuesday? Yes. I'll keep it as Tuesday. Then I'll click on enter. What happened? The value Tuesday got assigned to the variable wk name. Wk name is the name of my variable and the type is str, guys, Tuesday. Why did we get str? Because of input function. Because of input function. Right. Now I'll define my match case statement. Okay. So match is the keyword that I have used. Then what is my choice expression? My choice expression is nothing but wk name. What is wk name? It is str type value. Str type value. Then I have defined all the cases and the labels. Case followed by the label. So this is case 1, case 2, case 3, so on till case n. All the cases followed by the label. So if the wk name, that means choice expression and the label, if these two match, the corresponding case gets executed. The corresponding case block gets executed. So if you observe here, what is the value that we have in wk name? It is Tuesday. It is Tuesday. So starting from the first case, is Tuesday is equals to Sunday? Is choice expression and the label getting matched? No. No. Right? It goes to the second case block. Is the condition matching the choice expression and the label? No. But in case 3, the case block 3, yes. Since I have OR option, since I am using OR operator, so the Tuesday is mapping with the label Tuesday. As this case block 3 is mapping, it executes line number 1499. It executes line number 1499. What will be written as output? The output will be Tuesday is working day. Tuesday is working day. So this is what it is going to return us as output. Let me execute all the lines of code together. I'll be executing all the lines of code together. See, do I have default case block? Yes, I also have default case block. Right? So let me execute this match key statement together, and I got the output as Tuesday is working day. Good guys. Good. Let us rerun it. I hope you got the point right. Whenever the condition, I mean, the choice expression is mapping with the label, the corresponding case gets executed. So I'm re-executing from scratch. It is asking us to enter the week name. Okay. So probably I'll keep it as Sunday. Sunday is a holiday. It returned me Sunday is holiday as output. Why? The condition, the label that we have in the case 1 block is mapping with the choice expression. So that is why it has written as the output as Sunday is holiday. What if I assume what if I did not give any week name? Instead of providing a week name, let us provide our organization name, NUT. What will be the output in this case? What will be the output, guys? If I click on enter, it will return me the output as NUT is not weekday. NUT is not. Weekday will be returned as output. Why? Because it checks for all the labels. Choice expression will be mapped with all the labels. As none of the label maps, it goes and executes the default case block. Yes, we know that NUT is not a weekday. That is what it is returning as output. Right? So in this way, when you have a pre-designed menu, we go and use match case statement. And always keep it in mind, you cannot use match case statement in Python versions less than 3.10. If you are doing so, you will be encountering issues and exceptions. Okay, you can work on match case statements in which the Python version is greater than 3.10. Keep it in mind. Yes, the default case block will be executed. Right? So this is all about conditional statements or branching statements. Right? So the next type of statements that we have under flow control statements is looping statements. What is the next type? Looping statements, also called as iterative statements, also called as repetitive statements. So these are the different types of statements. I mean, all these mean same. In short, they represent loops. What is the purpose of looping statements? Is we can perform an operation for finite number of times. Okay, I can perform an operation. Say if I want to draw 100 circles on the same circle. The task is same. What? Drawing 100 circles in this way. Okay, so what is the task? To draw a circle. For how many number of times? 100 times. Once if the condition is done, if it is met, if it is becoming false, it stops. After drawing circle for 100 times, the condition is met? Yes, it stops. So that is the purpose of looping statements. The operation will be repeated for n number of times until the condition becomes false. But If you go back to the first type of flow control statements, that is conditional statements, an operation will be executed. They will be performed only for once. But here, for n number of times. In Python, there are two types of looping statements. The first one is while or while else. And the second one is for or for else. There are two types of loops. In short, we call them as for loop, while loop, right? But for loop is also called as for else loop. While loop is also called as while else loop. Okay? Right. So coming to loops, being a programmer, we have to mainly focus on 3 points. You must ensure that there are 3 points. What are they? The initialization part, followed by the conditional part. We should also define a condition. And the third one is updation part. So we'll be understanding all these 3 parts, okay, as part of each and every type, both in for loop and while loop. So let me start with for loop initially. I'll start with for loop. What is the purpose of for loop? We can execute, I can perform a task, an operation for finite number of times, for multiple times, till the condition becomes false. For is also called as for else loop. The syntax for loop is for keyword followed by variable name in iterable object. What do you mean by iterable object? An object which contains multiple items, multiple values, multiple elements is called iterable object. Then indentation symbol. So once after you give indentation symbol, we know we'll have by default the 4 spaces coming in. We can have the block of statements. So these block of statements will keep on executing till the condition becomes false. And next to it, you can have other statements in the program. This is syntax 1. We also have other syntax for loop. It is same earlier to the earlier syntax for variable name in object name, nothing but the iterable name. Okay. So it executes the block of statements for n number of times till the condition becomes false. We can also add else block. We can also add else block. Under this else block, we can also define our block of statements. These block of statements will be part of else block. Okay. Then coming to the explanation, within for block, for loop, we'll have for and in are as the keywords. What is iterable object? An object which contains multiple elements. An object which contains multiple elements. Right? So if you observe till the condition becomes false, the loop keeps on proceeding. It iterates for all the values. Right? Yes. Now let us understand a few examples related to for loop or for else loop. For loop or for else loop. A small one. What do you see here? What am I doing in line number 1518? In 1518 line, I am coming up with an str object because we have sequence of characters enclosed in quotation marks, double quotation marks, right? So obviously str type will be used for storing Nextera Unitech, right? Yes. What is the size of Nextera Unitech? Nothing but S. It is 15. Then I'm using print function to print a message. By using for loop will be printed. Done. Then I am also printing some hyphens. So the hyphens gets printed. Now, you see the syntax of for else loop? For else loop? Yes. For variable in iterable object. What is variable here? X. What is iterable object here? S. So X takes one value. For each iteration, X takes one value at a time. Okay. Then it enters the block of statements. The indentation block of statements will be entered, and where we have the logic as to print the value of X. To print the value of X. Once after completing for all the characters present in S, it also goes to else block and prints a new line followed by hyphens. So if I execute this line number, the for else loop, it is going to print all the characters one by one. All the characters will be printed one by one. Am I right or wrong? What will be the output for this for else block? For else loop? See. It started with N, then E, X, T, E, R, A, even space. Space is also not left. Space Unitech. Once after printing all the characters, it comes to else block. Did it print a new line? Yes, it have also printed a new line. Then next to the new line, it has also printed the hyphens. Clear? Yes. One more program for loop. This time you guys are going to give the answer. So focus. What are we doing in line number 1527? I'm using int function and input function. So when I ask end user to enter a number, this number will be converted to int type. Right? Let me say 5. So n holds the value 5 where the type is int. Right? So if you see here, I have a combination of conditional statement and looping statement. Yes. What is a conditional statement that we have used here? If else statement. I'll give you a good amount of time. Can you understand and tell me what will be the output for this combination of conditional statement and looping statement? Yes. Think and tell me what will be the output. What will be the output, guys? Initially checks for the condition present in the if block. Is the condition matching? No. The condition is not, it's not returning true. Because 5 is less than. Is 5 less than or equals to 0? No. 5 is greater than 0, right? So as the condition is false, the output is false, it goes to else block. Not exactly. Yes. Good. It goes to else block, prints hyphens, then it formats the value of n in this message, stating that multable for 5, then prints hyphens again, then I takes one value at a time from the range object. Range of 1, 11 will return what? It generates the positive integers ranging from 1 till 10. So I takes 1 initially. So the value of n, I and the product of n and I will be formatted at these places. N, I and n multiplied by I. In this way, I takes all the values starting from 1 till 10. So that means I'll be getting the phi table as output. I'll get phi table as output. Then after completing this for loop, will it stop? No. It also goes to else block and prints hyphens. And prints hyphens. That's it. So this is a small program to generate any multiplication table. For any given number, we can generate multiplication table. Right? Yes. So let me execute and show you the results, because if I show you the results, you'll be understanding it, right? See, if we observe here, so hyphens got printed, then the message and hyphens again, and you see the space between the starting position in the table. That is because of backslash t. Backslash t represents tab space, guys. Backslash t represents tab space. So for all the occurrences, you'll get tab space printed, then the message, the formatted message. Making sense? Okay, let me raise a question here. I got the phi table till 10, right? What if I want to get the same phi table till 20? What changes should I make? What changes should I make in the same code in order to return the factors, the multiples of 5 till 20? Exactly. Good. When you say 1 comma 21 or hmm, so when you say 1 comma 21, obviously it is going to return us the numbers from 1 till 20, so that you'll get the multiples of 5 till 20. So in this way you can change as per your requirement. You can change. No, n will be the number for which table you are going to get. Okay, that will be n. You have to change the value for I. When you change the value for I, only then the multiples will be written till 20. Good. Let us go to the next example for loop, also called as for else loop. Right. So again, a small example for loop. I'll give you exactly 30 seconds. Try to understand the code. What exactly are you doing here? What are we doing here? I'm using input function. Yes. So this input function will actually display the message, and that message will be whatever the value that the end user passes, this value will be dynamically assigned to the line, variable line. So let me execute line number 1540. Done. Yes, we are extracting the ovals. Good. So it is asking us to give a line of text. So I'll keep it as next era uni tech. So this is our organization name. Next Nextera Unitech. Then I'll click on enter. So in line, we are storing a value Nextera Unitech and the type is str. Good. Then I would like to print hyphens followed by the line that we have passed to the input function. So this line will be formatted in a message given line. Done. And I would also like to print hyphens again. Then I have a variable defined and initialized it to 0. NOV is equals to 0. I have initialized a variable to 0. From here onwards, I have the for loop. What does my for loop say? For CH in line, what does CH represent is character. Okay. For CH is nothing but the variable. For CH in line, so that means from this Nextera Unitech, CH takes one character at a time. One character at a time and it enters the for loop. What do we have within for loop? Within the for loop, we have if statement. We have if else statement. Okay, so it checks for the condition. What is the condition here? If CH not in, if initially CH is N, right? Is N in this list? No, N is not in this list. Then continue. Continue is a flow control. It's a loop control statement which helps us to skip the current iteration. Continue helps us to skip the current iteration. We'll talk about continue guys. Okay, in the coming next 20-30 minutes, we'll be understanding what exactly continue is. So whenever the condition is met, it enters the if block and says continue. Here the condition is met. So it comes and it says continue. That means the current iteration will be skipped. It goes to the next character. CH takes E. CH takes E. E not in, this list. Don't we have E in this list? We have E. E is in this list. Right? So this condition is failing. As the condition fails, it comes to the else block and what is happening? It prints the character. Then the increment will also be done for the variable NOV. Number of ovals will be incremented by 1. We know that E is a oval. So whenever a oval comes, it formats, that is nothing but it prints the oval to the console. Then immediately it also performs updation. Increment is being done. Once after completing for all the characters, then the else block that we have for loop, it executes and prints the number of ovals. Can you tell me what will be the output for this for else loop? Output for this for else loop. Take Nextera Unitech as the line. What will be the output, guys? E is a oval, so count will be 1. The next E in uppercase is also an oval, count is 2. A is an oval, count is 3. Then U is an oval, count will be 4. I is an oval, count will be 5. And E is also another oval, count will be 6. So all these characters will be printed and the number of ovals will be 6. See. Clear? Yes. So upon your requirement, you have to define your conditions. Okay, then let me go to the next example. I'm going to the next example in which I'm using for loop again. Okay, yes. So what do you understand from this for loop, guys? Okay, we have break, right? I'll be talking about this for loop later because we have flow control statement break. Let me not discuss about this now. Once when we discuss this flow control statements, we'll talk about this example. Right. So let us go to the next type of loops. Looping statement. It is called while loop. What it is called? While loop. Also called as while else loop. While or while else. What is the syntax for while loop is? The syntax is while keyword followed by the test condition. While keyword followed by the test condition. Okay. So within this test condition, if the test condition is returning as true, it will execute the block of statements. It enters the indentation block and executes the block of statements. We also have syntax 2 for while, where we additionally come up with else block. Apart from while block, we'll also have else block. Okay, so to the while block, if you add the else block, it becomes while else loop. That's it. So the else block is not mandatory, it's optional. If you see here, else block is optional. What are the keywords that we have in while loop? While and else are the keywords that we have in while loop, and initially the test condition will be evaluated. If the test condition is true, okay, if this true, the Python virtual machine starts executing the block of statements that we have in the while block. Okay, so it keeps on executing till the test condition returns false. Till the condition returns false, the block of statements keep on executing. So what are you doing in short? You're actually executing the loop, repeating the same task again and again till this condition becomes false. Making sense? So let us work out on a few examples related to while also. Okay. So we have small examples for while. What do you see here? What is the condition that we have here? First of all, the condition says while keyword followed by true. Condition itself true. So that means it enters. It enters the indentation block of statements. It executes line number 1573 asking for the age of the citizen. If the age is greater than or equals to 18 and I'm using logical operator AND. When does a logical operator AND returns true? It returns true when both the expressions, relational expressions return true. So if the age of our citizen is greater than or equals to 18 and if the age of the citizen is less than or equals to 100, then we say break. What is the purpose of break is break statements help us to permanently terminate the loop. They help us to stop the loop. Okay, so we are going to understand the purpose of break, then continue, pass, so on. Okay, but somehow you guys have to understand it. And next to it, we have a normal statement in the program. It is print function, which helps us to print the age of the citizen and saying that whether the citizen is eligible to vote or not. Okay, So this is a small while loop that we have. I'm executing this while loop, guys. Focus. So it is asking me to enter the age. Yes. So let me keep the age as 26. When I say the age of the citizen as 26, what will be written? It checks for the condition. This condition is true, this is also true. So obviously it enters the if block. If block. What is the condition that we have? What is the statement that we have in the if block? We have only one statement, it is break. The break says to terminate the loop, to stop the loop. Okay, if I click on enter, here, if I click on enter, it stops. The loop stops. And by default, it is printing the age and says you are eligible to vote. So it's a small while loop example that we have. So let us focus on the next one. What is this? In line number 1578. What do we have in line number 1578? In line number 1578, we have an example for, we have an object called list object. Right? This is a list object where we have int type values, str type values, bool type value, and float type value also. List is a collection data type. Yes, we have a list object. So what is the size of this list object? It is 6. Then I use print function to print a message followed by hyphens. So hyphens and the message got printed. Then I'm initializing a variable I is equals to 0. Done. Now I'll start with my while loop. What is the syntax of while loop? See, while keyword followed by the condition. While keyword followed by the condition. What does the condition say, guys? The condition says I less than length of LST. If I, what is I? I is nothing but 0. I is nothing but 0. 0 less than length of LST. What is LST? List object. What is length of the list object? 6. Is 0 less than 6? Yes, true. If this condition is true, it goes to the block of statements. It enters the while loop and executes the block of statements. What do we have within the block of statements? To print the value that we have at LST of 0. What is this concept called? Indexing. Is list, can we perform indexing and slicing on list objects? Yes. So the value that we have at the index position 0 in the LST list object will be printed, and then the value of I gets incremented by 1. So tell me what will be the output for this while loop. I'll give you good amount of time and I want you guys to answer the output. What will be the output for this while loop? Especially this while part. I need not this one is not required. Initially 10 gets printed. Yes. I becomes 1. 20 gets printed. I becomes 2. Python gets printed. I becomes 3. For each every value of I, it checks for the condition, guys. Yes. Then Java gets printed. I becomes 4. True gets printed. I becomes 5. Then 34.56 also gets printed. I becomes 6. Yes, all elements will be printed one by one. One by one, all elements will be printed, and the final value of I will be 6. If you have any other value in the list object, that value will not be printed because the length of the object is actually 6. Yes. So, no, even the last one will also get printed. That is what you have to observe. See, let me execute this entire while loop. See, focus. All the values will be printed one by one. All the values will be printed one by one. In the same way, we have one more example, but this time instead of list, it's str type, str object. Again, a chance for you. I want the output for this while loop. I want the output for this while loop. The same concept, instead of list object, we have str object. What does this str object contain? Nextera Unitech as the value. So what will be the output? What will be the output here? Guys, think and let me know your answers. Don't sit idle. All the characters in the str object will be written as output. Okay. Will they be printed line by line in this fashion? No, they'll not be printed in this fashion. Good. They'll be printed with space. Why? What makes the difference between the previous one and this one? Observe carefully. If you observe carefully, there is a difference. Here in print function, we are just formatting the value and you are printing. But here, there is also a parameter called end. There is also a parameter called end. So what is a parameter? What is an argument? You'll understand. Right. In the next topic, we have parameters arguments as part of function. So this end parameter tells us by default in the print function, the end parameter takes \n. I'll keep it here. See, end takes the default value as \n. This will be as the default value for end within the print function. Because of this, it prints all the characters or all the elements of the list in a new line every time. But here, instead of \n, I am replacing it with space. So that means the values, the characters will be printed. All the characters will be printed. But instead of printing in this fashion, this is wrong. Here, as per this line, the output will be n space, e space, x space, t space. Okay. For all the characters, you will observe spaces between them. That is because of end parameter value. Good. So let me execute and show you the output, guys. See? That is because of end parameter. If you remove these spaces, Assume that you have removed the spaces. Okay. Now, if you want to run the code again, this time, will it give me the same result as output? No. It will not give me the same result. It will change. See, all the characters are printed one after the other. That is because of end parameter. That is what I was talking about. There is a parameter called end, which by default takes backslash n as the value. And because of this backslash n, you are able to see the values getting printed one after the other. They're getting printed in the new line. If you don't go with the backslash n, if you would like to customize it, where I have used only space, then you'll observe these characters printing side by side. Good one. Then one more program where we are trying to display a multiplication table, okay, for a positive number, but this time we are doing it using while loop. We are doing it using while loop. Now let us understand what exactly happens here. Initially, the value, the number that we pass will be assigned to n. Yes, the number gets converted to int type and that int type value will be assigned, stored in n. It checks for the value of n, whether if it is less than or equals to 0. If that is the case, it prints invalid input as output. What if the condition is not true? That means if I pass a value for n greater than 0, that means a positive number. It goes to else block? Yes. It prints hyphens? Yes. Then it also prints a message multiple for the number n? Yes. It prints hyphens again? Yes. Then I value is equals to 1 gets initialized. We had a while loop. While keyword followed by the condition. What does the condition say? If I value is less than or equals to 10. Yeah, I value is less than 10. The condition is true. It enters the while loop and starts executing the codes, the block of statements, where it prints the n value, I value, and the product of n and I. These values get formatted at respective positions. So once after printing this message, n into I is equals to n multiplied by I, the I value gets incremented. Again, in the next iteration, I becomes 2. It checks for the condition again. Yes. So in this way, the condition will be true till I value is 10. Till I value is 10, the condition will be true. So we are going to get the multiplication table for any given positive number using while loop. If you want to cross check whether we are done with the loop or not, you can also add an else block which is optional. So once if the statements in the else block get executed, we can confirm that the while loop, the while loop has been executed. Right? So let me execute this while loop together. I'm doing it. So it is asking me to enter a number. I'll pass the number as 10. If you observe, I'll get the 10th table. I'll get the table of 10. Making sense or not? Yes. Here is one more program which actually help us to find the sum of n natural numbers. Okay, this actually helps us to find the sum of n natural numbers. Let us understand the logic behind this code, the program. So initially we have to pass a value for n. Okay, it is asking us enter how many natural numbers sum you want to find. So if you say first 10 natural numbers means the numbers which starts from 1, right? Whole numbers means the numbers which start from 0, right? Yes. So if the n value is greater than, if it is less than or equals to 0, it prints a message stating that n value is invalid. If not, we will be initializing I and s, two variables with the values 1 and 0. Then it prints the messages, hyphens, then followed by the message and also hyphens again. Next to it, we have a while loop where the condition says if I is less than or equals to n. Assume that if I want the sum of first 5 natural numbers. What is the sum of first 5 natural numbers, guys? What is the sum of first 5 natural numbers? First of all, tell me what are the first 5 natural numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yes. So when you sum up these values, you'll get 15. Right? So n value here is 5. It checks for the condition. 1 less than or equals to 5. Is the condition true? Yes, this is true. It goes inside and prints the number. Prints the number. Then the value of I will be incremented to, that will be added to S. The value of I will be added to S. And the S value will be updated. Then next to it, we are also incrementing I value with 1. Again, it checks for the condition. The condition holds till, the condition will hold true till the value of I becoming 5. Till here it returns true. And we'll also get the sum. At the end of the day, you'll get the sum as 15. And that sum is what you are printing as part of else block. Okay, so this is the logic that we have used as part of this program to return the sum of first n natural numbers, provided n should be positive. Clear? Yeah, you can ignore these print statements and all, but the main logic lies here. Initializing two variables, the values for it, and how we are able to keep the condition as part of while loop matters, right? So let me execute the entire program at once. I'm executing all the lines of program at once. Focus. Done? Yes. So if I keep it as 5, what is the sum that I got? 15. And what are the first 5 natural numbers? Are these the first 5 natural numbers? Yes. So this is how it is going to return as the natural numbers and the sum of it. Next, and the last example for while loop, guys. The last example for while loop. Focus. What are we doing here? We are accepting a number for n and we are checking whether the value for n is a positive or not. Okay, whether the value is greater than 0 or not. If it is less than 0, we say that the n value is invalid input and we are initializing a variable s. Right? So this program is to find the sum of the numbers, the digits. So if I pass 100 as a digit, okay, so the sum of the digits will be added and the overall sum will be written as output. How? Initially the sum is 0 and I have come up with the while loop, okay, where the condition says if n greater than 0, yes, I assume that if I have took 100 greater than 0, yes. So it enters the while loop. It calculates the, what is this? Modulo operator, which returns the remainder. So 100 modulo operator 10, 100% 10 will return as 0. D will be written as 0. D value will be 0. So this D value will be added to sum S. 0 plus 0 is again 0. And finally, we are also calculating the floor division. Floor division. So assume I took 100 as the number for n. Initially, D will be what? 100 modulus 10, which is nothing but 0. Because when 10 divides 100 exactly, there will be no remainder, right? So the sum for, initially the sum is 0, yes, and the D value is also 0. So the overall sum will be updated to 0 again. Then coming to n, what happens to n? For n value, we are actually going with floor division. What is the value of n? N is nothing but initially 100. 100 floor division 10. What will be the output? 10. 10. So the value of n will be updated to 10. Again, it checks for the condition. 10 greater than 0? Yes. It performs the same steps. In this way, the value of s will be updated to 1. Why? 1 plus 0 plus 0 is nothing but 1. When I sum up the digits of number 100, I'll get the sum as 1. So this sum will be written as output. This sum will be written as output. So let me execute and show you how it works. See, it is asking us to enter a number. I'll keep the number as 100. The output should be 1. Sum of the digits is 1. You tell me, should I give any other value? What if I give 78 as the number? What will be the output? 15. The output will be 15. Right? Yes. Right. So within loops, we also have a concept called inner loops or nested loops. We have a concept called inner loops or nested loops. So what is this inner loop or nested loop? Similar to nested list, inner list. What does it mean by nested list object? Means a list object within a list object is called nested list. In the same way, inner loops or nested loop means loop within a loop is called inner loop or nested loop. It is called inner loop or nested loop. Here is an example for loop inside a for loop. Inside a for loop, you will observe a for loop. Can you tell me what will be the output of this for in for? Loop in loop is nothing but nested loop or inner loop. We have example for in for loop. I takes the values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because range of 1 comma 6 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Initially I takes 1. Then it prints hyphens. I value will be printed. Again it prints hyphen. Then the inner for loop starts executing. J value will be what? 1. Because J can take only the values of 1, 2, 3. Right? Then it prints the value of J. J equals to 1 will be printed. Are we done with the inner loop? No. J is equals to 2 will be printed. J is equals to 3 will be printed. Are we done? Yes, we are done with inner for loop. Right? We are done with inner for loop. Then immediately it also prints hyphens and it also prints out of inner for loop will be printed. This is for I is equals to 1. But I can take other values also. So in this way it prints I is equals to 2, I is equals to 3, I is equals to 4, so on, I is equals to 5. Once after printing the results for all the 5 iterations of I, finally it prints hyphens and it prints a message out of outer for loop. That is how this particular program works. Simple guys. So far we just tried using only loops, single loops. But from here onwards you'll observe loop within a loop, loop inside a loop, right? So let me execute this and show you the results. I'll be executing all the lines of code together and observe the results. See, where did it start? It started here. I is equals to 1, where all the values for j will be printed. J is equals to 1, j is equals to 2, j is equals to 3. Then done with inner for loop. It goes to I is equals to 2. Then again all values of j. I is equals to 3. All values of j. In this way, I takes all the values till 5. Then finally it prints out of outer for loop. Bit confusing or it's clear? Clear, right? Yes. Let us also work out on while infer. See, at the end of the day, the output will be same. The output will be same, but what we are trying to change here is we are going to have a while loop inside a for loop. Okay, so this part is same. There is no change here. But as we know that if I want to come up with a while loop, there should be a condition, and for this condition there should be some initialization for the variable. Right? So within the for loop, we have while loop. Okay. So the same output is what you'll observe. The output will be same. There is no change with respect to our output, guys. Okay. So let me execute this while infer. The output will not change. The way that we are writing the code using while loop in the for loop will change. See. Is there any change with respect to the output? No. For I is equals to 1, j is equals to 1, 2, 3. For I is equals to 2, j is equals to 1, 2, 3. In this way, till I is equals to 5, j is equals to 1, 2, 3 will be printed as output. It will be written as output. What if I have for in while? Within a while loop, what if I have for loop? Is it accepted? Yes, it is accepted. We are going to get the same output. The output will not change, but the style of writing the code will change. Within the while loop, I'll keep the for loop. Okay, if you see here, as we have the while loop initially, I'm also initializing the variable at the starting stage itself. I is equals to 1. Next to it, we have while loop and the condition. I less than or equals to 5 is the condition. Condition satisfied. So I takes different values from 1 till 5. From 1 till 5, I can take different values. Okay. Then what about J? J can take only the values from 1 till 3. Okay. So let me execute this entire while in for in while. Okay. The output will be same. I've just changed the code. How a for loop can be used inside a while loop is what we are trying to understand. But there is no change with respect to output. And in the same way, we also have while in while. While loop inside while loop. Okay, I'm trying to bring the same output but with different nested loops concept. We have tried all the different combinations. What are they? For in for in while in for, and finally while in while. While in while. So this has returned the same output. There is no change with respect to the output. See, if you understand how these loops work, you can play with the series, guys. Yes, you can play with any of these values. And we have miscellaneous flow control statements. So this is the last topic that we are going to learn as part of today's session. Okay. So we'll be talking about it and then we'll wind up the session. Very small topics. Okay. So let us understand them quickly. What is the purpose of these miscellaneous flow control statements is what we are going to discuss now. And in Python, there are three miscellaneous flow control statements. Flow control statements. So these statements help us to control the flow. Am I right? Yes. What are they? Break, continue, and pass. They are break, continue, and pass. So let us start understanding one by one. What is the first one? The first one is break statement. When do we use break statement is the break statement is generally used for terminating the loop permanently. Whenever you want to stop the loop based on a condition, we use break statement. In general, we can use break statement in for loop as well as while loop. Okay, here is the syntax. So when this test condition satisfies, okay, obviously it means it has to enter the if block. Yes, what do you have within the if block? There is only one statement, it is break. This break help us to stop the loop. Even though if you are not done with the values in the iterable object, since we have achieved the break statement, it terminates the execution. Even the same happens here. If this condition is met, obviously it has to go inside the if block. When it goes into the if statement, what do you have? You have break statement which is going to break the execution of while loop, which stops the while loop. So especially when you are using break statements, the else block that you have for both while loop and else loop. I mean while loop and for loop. Okay. So the else part for while loop and for loop will not execute. The else part will not execute when break executes. Very, very, very important. Okay. So let me show you some examples. See, what am I doing here? I'm coming up with an str object. Yes. Then what is this? This is a for loop which is actually telling us to print each and every character. Val takes each and every character from S and it prints all the characters one by one. Right? Then I also have one more for loop in the same code where within which I have a condition. If the val takes a character H, if the condition is satisfying, I am saying it to break. I am saying it to break. Okay, what if this condition is not met? If this condition is not met, it goes and prints the characters. What if the condition is met? It immediately stops the execution part. So can you tell me what will be the output for this code? Here we can clearly understand that all the characters will be printed one by one. But here, will it print all the characters? No. It prints all the characters till C, but when it comes for H, as the condition is met, it enters the if block and we have break statement which actually terminates the loop, stops the loop. So we'll not have H printed in the output. C. But initially you'll have H because there is no break here. You have break in the second for loop. So this is the output for the first for loop and this is the output for the second for loop. Right? Next example. I'm taking a list object of some values. Okay. And I'm having a for loop. Okay. Where val takes each and every value from the list object. If val is Python, if the val is Python, if val takes Python as it is from the list object, what does it has to do? It has to break. That means it will stop as it is. Can you tell me what will be the output here? What will be the output in this case? Initially val takes 10. Yes. 10 gets printed. Val takes 20 printed because this condition is not met. Till here, till Java it gets printed. But when val takes Python, the condition is met. And when the condition is met, it goes to the if block and it says break. So the loop breaks. It stops. As we have break, as the break got executed, the else block present in the while for loop will not execute. See, it printed me 10, 20, 30 and Java. Till only here it has printed. Later on that what happened? Did it print this message? No. We came to know that when break executes, the else block does not execute. It executes the other statements in the program. Yes. Let us understand continue guys. The second statement. Break is actually terminating the execution. Then what does continue do? Continue whenever the condition is met similar to break. When the condition is met, continue instead of terminating, it is only skipping the iteration. It skips the iteration. Only that current iteration will be skipped. Okay. It does not break. Similar to break statement, continue does not terminate the loop. It allows to continue. But wherever the condition is met, only for that particular iteration, it skips the statements. Okay. So here we have the syntax for continue also. let us walk you through the syntax. If you observe here, similar to break, instead of break, you can use continue keyword. Continue is also a keyword, guys. See, I can use continue keyword in while loop as well as for loop. But when you use continue, the else block statements it will be executed, not like break. In break, the else block statements will not be executed, right? But here it will execute. If you observe here, what am I doing? I am coming up with an str type object and I have a for loop where my for loop says val in s. So val takes each and every character in s, and whenever the val is u, I am saying continue. Okay. So initially val takes n. Yes. Is the condition met? No. It prints n. Next val takes e. The condition met? No. It prints e. Val takes u in the third iteration. Is the condition met? Yes. When the condition is meeting, it goes inside the if block and we are saying to continue. That means it skips the transaction, the iteration where it does not print u. Immediately val takes t. Val takes t and checks for the condition. The condition is not met. It prints t as well. So that means apart from u in NEUT, NET will be printed. I hope you are getting the point. Why u did not get printed? Because for u, the condition is met. When the condition is met, it goes and says continue. Continue to the next iteration. So whatever the lines of code that you will have next to this continue statement will not be printed, will not get executed. Now it's your turn. Tell me the output for this example, guys. What will be the output for this for loop where I have used continue? Where we have used continue statement. What will be the output? Make it fast. Careful. Will h bit printed? See, if the val is y or if the value is h, it says continue. Right? Only PTON will be printed. Perfect. PTON will be printed. Good. Here is one more example. A list object is what I am taking. Okay. And I am using for loop. Within the for loop, I am using continue statement. Can you tell me what will be the results? What is the condition that we have here? If the value is less than or equals to 0, that means the negative integers, the negative numbers present in the list object, they get skipped. See, only the positive numbers will be printed. Good. Last example. I am taking a list of integers, numbers, okay, where I have positive and negative together, and I am initializing I is equals to 0, a variable I is equals to 0. Then I have a while loop within which I have continue. So can you tell me what will be the output for this while loop? What does the condition say? I less than or equals to length of list object. What is the length of the list object? 9. Yeah, 0 is less than 9. So the condition is met. It goes inside. It goes inside. What is the condition that we have in the if statement? LST of I. That means LST of 0. What is LST of 0? 100. 100 less than or equals to 0? No. So it comes to else block and prints 100. And either I value gets incremented. Yes. So this is also going to return as positive numbers only. But additionally, it is also printing me the statement that we have in the else block. The statement that we have in the else block will also get printed. Right? So the output will be same, but earlier we have done it using for loop. This time we are doing it using while loop. That's it. Is it clear? Yes. So we are done with the topic of conditional statements and followed by looping statements as well as miscellaneous flow control statements. Okay. So this is all about the session where we have understood conditional statements, looping statements, and flow control statements. So it's time for our questions. Any questions? When you do multiple examples, okay, ah, why I every time is what your question, right? You can try using with any variable. See, you need not use I every time. You can use any other variable. You can use J or K or your name, whatever it might be, it is accepted. A pass actually does nothing. It is used as a placeholder. Okay. So the pass, it does nothing. The pass miscellaneous flow control statement that we have, when you want to run a loop where you don't want to have any output, then you can simply keep it as pass. Right? There is no hands-on now with respect to the pass because as it does nothing, we did not include it. But anyways, any other questions, guys? And before you fill the feedback form, if you find the session went well, hit on the like button, do subscribe to our channel and also share across your connections. Right? Do share across your connections, ask them to learn Python. Okay. So the feedbacking has been provided. Please provide your valuable feedback before you leave, and do ensure that you have subscribed to our channel, as well as please hit on the like button before you leave, guys. Thank you so much for joining and you know having a great session today.